This year, Rainbow Six Siege and Battlefield Hardline are both tackling hostage rescue modes, one with a fast esports focus, and the other as a tactical shooter with destructible buildings. Not the Battlefield one. I set out to research what makes a good hostage rescue game, only to find out there aren't really a lot of them out there. It's a tough thing to pull off in PvP because usually one side has an unfair advantage, or even worse, nobody cares about the hostages, and matches devolve into team deathmatch. Here are some lessons learned from past hostage games. First, let's go back to the idea of hostages as a game mechanic. Why even have them? Traditionally, the idea of a hostage is to slow down a response or as a bargaining chip. In game terms, this hopefully translates into a sense of tension. Attackers should be scared and cautious entering into defender territory. If nobody cares about the hostage, then you don't really have a hostage mode. You just have a building entry game. So, number one, both teams have to have an invested interest in the hostage's safety. A good example of this is in the co-op title Payday 2, where players taking and keeping hostages safe vastly reduces the difficulty and police response. Amateur burglars would blast their way through levels and then struggle to survive as increasingly dangerous police waves showed up to take them down. But veteran Payday 2 players, through unlocks, tactics, and a heaping help of zip ties, might never have to fire a shot. Payday 2 did a great job of tying hostage treatment to ease or difficulty of a win. Early builds of Counter-Strike also had issues with hostage value, where terrorists simply found it easier to manage with fewer and would execute half or more at the outset of rounds. Both of these titles have led me to believe hostage rescue modes need an instant fail scenario, or heavy penalties for either side if the hostage is killed. It makes sense conceptually. The entire point of the attackers is to rescue. The entire point of the defenders should be to escape. I'd like to go further and see the extractions on either side lead to a win, not just the police having to extract, which doesn't give the defenders any incentive to evade. Number 2. Tools for team tactics are going to be critical. Sure, Ghost Recon Future Soldier had some great sync shotting in single player, but how do you pull that off with real players? SWAT 4 had some good ideas in its single player campaign. The commander led 2 squads on each assault, and not only gave orders, but looked through the helmet cams of his or her subordinates. The commander called out what kind of breaching and clearing to do, and ultimately led to a unified tactical response. On the flip side, for the defenders, that would make the commander a very juicy high-value target. Ghost Recon Phantoms also has a good solution for team unity, with players being aware of other friendly players through a friend tracking system that shows up in the form of lines between a player and their teammates. Another way to encourage team cohesion is gear splitting. If only one guy has the breaching charges and one guy has the grappling hook, everyone needs to rally to them to accomplish tasks. I'd love to see a game where, say, the bolt cutters were on a player's back and another player would have to pull it off them to use it. So far, we've seen some of these elements in Hardline and Siege. Hardline with spotting and contextual commands, and Siege with gear, equipment, and voice chat. But I am worried that both of these games' hostage modes will devolve as all players run off and try to lone wolf the maps. And that brings us to our last point, number 3. Replayability. Nothing makes a game more replayable than a large set of tools and some randomization. Payday 2 randomizes doors, crates, even entire ships on some levels. Players are familiar with the general layout of maps, but they can run into any number of unexpected barriers. SWAT 4 randomized bad guy placement, and bad guys were also capable of freely moving through levels once the action started. Some of this unpredictability will come naturally from PvP encounters, but environmental changes would add a lot more content. In terms of gear, SWAT 4 had it right. Attackers had a wide range of lethal and non-lethal options, grenades and gadgets. There was nothing more entertaining, and also hilarious, than running into a room with a paintball gun full of pepper spray and shouting, "Get down, get down!" Or, doing a police brutality.
Oh shit. Man's gonna be pissed.
Ultimately, we're going to see this year if hostage rescue games and modes are still appealing. I've got great memories from America's Army 2 Snake Plane co-op mission, and others in the GameSpot office recall Hunted from Team Fortress. What would you like to see in either Rainbow Six Siege or Hardline's rescue mode? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned to GameSpot.com for continuing coverage of Rainbow Six Siege and Battlefield Hardline.